Welcome to episode 6 of the Dark Train Review, and I'm going to finally talk about the prequel to The Thing. Well, it's finally happened. I finally got a chance to go watch the prequel to The Thing. Pay a respectful homage to a film that I am very, very fond of. I hate to compare it to the original film, but I can't help it. I'm just going to admit, I cannot help comparing it to the original film. I had very low expectations of this film. I tried to go in, I took a friend of mine, she loves the original film too, and we were like, we're going to just try to forget the other film and just walk into this with an open mind. If you refer to episode 2, I did do a brief review of the original Thing with the 1982 John Carpenter version. And I had a lot to say about it, and I kind of fanboyed out a little bit about it. The film looked great. It was very, very good looking. They captured the mood, the lighting, the cold, the Antarctic. It was almost like a very, very expensive fan-made film. Like, we're going to make a prequel to The Thing, and we're going to set it in the Norwegian camp. That actually, when I first heard that, I thought that was awesome. I said, that's a great idea. In this version, they bring in the Americans. They do bring 2 women into the cast. And I'm not even going to talk about the actors. The actors, they came, did their parts, and they left. No problem. The plot takes place just before the 1982 version. They pull a paleontologist from her work to come see this fantastic discovery. There's a spaceship buried under the ice. And that's really awesome. That's a really cool idea. Antarctica is basically a desert. It's just not a hot one, okay? It doesn't support much life. So the fact that they find this, spaceship underneath there, and there's a creature that has been frozen crawling away from the ship, they found that's pretty amazing. Here's the problems that I had with the film. The monster was shown way too much. They actually got 2 good creature guys, and it's kind of interesting how they got the guys from Aliens. I believe it's Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff. They do great creature effects. They're really, really good. I think they maybe brought some ideas to the plot. A lot of the creature scares and the effects and things like that seem to be kind of borrowing from the Aliens mythology. Those guys are great effects artists, but I hardly saw any glycerin or KY jelly or any, rubber monster things that would still look cool if they're lit and manipulated properly. They build something, they light it, and people have to react to it. And I prefer that than all this in-your-face, CG stuff. It just seems like a lot of the effects are just kind of slapped in there. It's like they spend more money on the marketing of the film than they did on the actual effects in the film. There's just too much CG. I'm a video game player, and it felt like a video game in a lot of the effects. The monster was too loud and in your face. It wasn't just like he sneaks up on you, he just, boom, it's there. A lot of stuff that I saw, which was actually kind of cool, they had already showed me in the trailer for the film. The movie is still grotesque. It still has a lot of goo and, blood and guts. When the monster things out, there was a couple cool moments, which I was like, wow, that's pretty disturbing. Which, I'll give that credit. That was cool. But for the most part, the monster just kind of did the same thing, like 2 or 3 times in a row. There are some things I did like about it. They did, do the who do we trust kind of thing. You don't know who's who, and that was utilized. I appreciated that, but I couldn't get sucked in. I guess kept going, why are they doing this? And honestly, this is going to sound really stupid, but I don't care. I think they should have got John Carpenter. I think they should have got John Carpenter to do it. The man's experienced. He comes from low budget. He would have did the score, why not get John Carpenter to have done a remake or, a new version in the series or something? Because they did that with some of the James Bond films. They had a director, he directed a good one, so let's hire him back, For example, GoldenEye. Guess who directed Casino Royale? The same guy that directed GoldenEye, relaunching the franchise, I don't think they're trying to launch a franchise with a thing. I think they're trying to capitalize on the popularity of the old film. Let's bring in the older people like myself who like the original film, and let's bring in the young kids who have no idea and they're just going to watch it, munch their popcorn. They should have got John Carpenter to come back. They were basing all of this, hype and stuff on his original film, on his 82 version. There was a lot of handheld stuff. I hate that. If it goes with the flow of the story, that's one thing. And I understand when you've got 12 people in a room, it's kind of hard to track around them and make, tension. You want to build up tension. I like to have things build up, and when it's at the height of tension, it snaps. Something happens. It was all that jump scare stuff. It works, but it doesn't work for me. It's supposed to be kind of like a 10 Little Indians thing, and they kind of did that with some of the, who's the killer. At a certain point, they just kind of dropped that and just said, okay, we got to run from the big CG monster. And I did not like that. There was also some moments where the monster, it's supposed to be able to morph and change, It's like the effects designers, and no offense to these guys, but it's like the effects people took pieces of Rob Bottin's, monster creations and kind of slammed them into one thing, and they changed just a teeny bit, and then they slammed it into another thing, and they changed just a little bit more, but it's still basically the same thing. It's, opening up a stomach with some teeth type thing. No big deal, there wasn't really any shock moments. I wanted to like this film so much, I really did, and I was disappointed. At least they did it, I could say that. It could have been one of those projects that was like, oh, they're going to remake the thing, and oh, it fell through. So at least it will possibly raise awareness about the old film. Here's what I think about the prequel to The Thing. I think it suffers from let's try to make a horror movie for everybody that everybody will like and will make lots of money. When in reality, the audience that embraced the film was underground. The audience that embraced the film was cult. Most importantly, the audience that embraced the film was not your average audience. They're John Carpenter fans, and this was not a John Carpenter film. One final note on The Thing, the 2011 version I forgot to add. Overall, if I had never seen the original film, I probably would have admittedly enjoyed it that much more. If I was a younger person who had no idea what the old film was about, I probably would have came in with even lower expectations and been pleasantly surprised. The original film bombed. It was a box office failure. Video, DVD. It got a cult following, and a lot of people, they built up that cult status. The cult status is pretty much the reason why this film was made. There was actually even a video game sequel to The Thing, and it was actually kind of a cooler idea in a way. It would have made a much better film, but it didn't get made into a film. It got made into a video game that has probably been forgotten by most people. The old film got more famous as it got older. It aged better with time, perhaps. Whereas this film is trying to be something for everybody. For what it was trying to accomplish, I think it's a decent film. I'll give it that. I will give it that much. Just, the basic problems of the CG and, the camera movements, but that has to do with pacing and storytelling. They kind of threw some story stuff right out the window. On the Dark Train review, I'm going to give the 2011 version of The Thing 2.5 stars. The only reason why I guess that half star was because the ending was actually cool. Because the ending set up what was going to happen in the next film, and it did it pretty cleverly. I'm just going to be who I am and like the old film, and if a new audience latches on the new film, great. Mission accomplished by Universal.